Getting beat up by spreadsheets in your brewery? Don't let those dumb pivot tables bully you around. Get rid of the spreadsheets and the other clunky brewery software and get Ollie, the smart and affordable way to manage your brewery. Learn more at getollie.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our session today called From Brewer to Boss, Leadership Skills Brewed Just for You. My name is Ryan Mayfield. I work with a team called Craft Leadership. What we do is we help develop leadership skills and teamwork inside of breweries across the country. So excited to be with you today to talk about just that in your brewery. Okay, a few assumptions that I'm making right now for you guys. One is that if you're listening to this, you probably own or manage a brewery, right? You probably want your business and your people to succeed. You probably really like your people. And if I'm guessing, your people are often the source of your biggest problems, right? The things that frustrate you the most, stress you out, maybe even keep you up at night. And that's normal for anybody in your industry. So to start out, the question I want to ask you guys is how did you become a leader? Right? How did you get into a leadership role inside of your company, your organization? Here's the truth is that most people don't get into leadership because they were good at leadership, right? No one said, "Hey, you're great at leadership. We're now going to put you in a leadership position." Most people got into leadership because they were good at something else in your industry, you may have started a brewery not because you wanted to manage a whole bunch of people, but because you loved beer and you were decent at making it, right? And so you were good enough at making it that people wanted to buy it. And then enough people wanted to buy it that you had to hire more people to help you make enough of it for everybody to buy it. And then one day you wake up and you have a team of people that you are leading by default, right? It's not what you plan to do, but it's part of the process. And so that's a common scenario. And what tends to happen whenever people get into leadership roles that they weren't necessarily trained for is you have some things come up, some things happen that are not what you're after. Things like frustration, right? If you have unprepared leaders, teams get frustrated, the leader gets frustrated, people get burnt out, and the team performs poorly. And so that's a really common thing whenever we don't train leaders for leadership, right? And this is not a crazy concept. Like any other role, people get trained for, right? You don't throw somebody into a head brewer position who has no brewing experience, right? They've gone through training for that, right? If you got somebody out front serving drinks at a bar in a tap room, you might put them through like Cicerone training, right? All those different things. There's training for jobs, but then when it comes to leadership and management, a lot of times we don't train people. We just throw them into the role. And so it should be no surprise that that would cause issues, just like if you put somebody in a different role and didn't provide the training and the resources for them to do that. So what I want to give you today are three tools that we use whenever we're training people to be leaders, to be effective team leaders and managers, uh, people that other people like to follow. Right. So three tools to help you lead well. The first tool I want to give you today is called the Support Challenge Matrix. I'm going to work on a whiteboard back here, so hopefully you guys can see this. Let's see, make sure that's kind of showing up. Support Challenge Matrix. Okay. So the Support Challenge Matrix looks like this. We've got two lines, arrows at each end. I'm going to switch markers and see if I can get a darker one. And this line up and down, we're going to call that support. Yeah. And left and right is going to be challenge. And what we're looking at here are different types of leadership, different types of environments that people work in, right? And what we want are leadership styles or environments that are both high support and high challenge, right? If you take that high support and high challenge, that goes into a box that we call liberate, right? It's a liberating style of leadership where people are freed up, they're equipped, they're empowered, encouraged, and challenged to actually do their best work, to bring their best every day to the team. That's the ideal. However, not everybody, always fits in that box, and so there are three other options here that people tend to go towards whenever they're not liberating. So if you have a high support but low challenge style of leadership, what that's going to get you is what we call a protecting style of leadership. Now, in this style, people feel really good. They're really happy to be there. It's part of a family, right? There's high support, but there's low challenge, right? So when mistakes are made, they're often not dealt with right away. They're kind of swept under the rug and performance suffers. The other thing that suffers is trust in relationships doesn't build well because I may hear John over there say, "Oh yeah, I'll take care of that." But then when John doesn't take care of it, no one seems to mind or do anything about it. And so the next time that John says he'll do something, I question. I go, I don't know. Last time you didn't do it and no one seemed to care. So why would I think that you're going to do it this time? Right. And so it breaks down over time, even though it seems nice. Right. Now, the opposite of this is a high challenge and low support style of leadership. This is called dominating, right? And many of us have worked for a boss or a supervisor, a leader like this in the past. This is the drill sergeant. This is the old school football coach, right? Who is just high challenge, right? But low support. Like, I don't want excuses. This is your job. Get it done, right? And in this environment, things do get done, right? Because there's no tolerance for anything else. The problem is there's no support. And so when people get frustrated, there's a lot of burnout here. There's a lot of resentment, and that team breaks down. And this is the kind of boss that people tend to still tell bad stories about later on, right? Or around their dinner table at night with their family or whoever. Okay. So that's the high challenge, low support style of leadership. Obviously, not ideal. And then the bottom left is low challenge and low support. This is what we call abdicate, right? And in this type of environment, people come in, they go to their spot, they make the donuts, whatever it is, they scroll Facebook a whole lot, and then that's it, they go home. I was actually in a brewery 2 nights ago where I had this happen. I sat down at the bar, the bartender was 5 feet away from me and never looked at me. And I could just see he was just scrolling on social media. And I sat there for like 10 minutes without anybody noticing me or getting me a beer. And so it was definitely this abdicating style of leadership at work. So that is the support challenge matrix. I love this tool. It's super useful in a lot of different situations. So if you're a manager, if you're an owner of a brewery, this is a great tool. One, to reflect on your own leadership, to go, okay, how am I showing up? Right? How do the people that I work with, that I lead, how do they encounter me? Do they encounter me as someone who's dominating? Right? Do they encounter me as someone who is maybe more protecting? Or am I liberating people? Am I allowing people to do their best work by giving them both high challenge and high support? Right? Almost any leadership issue that you come across, this is a great place to start because you ask yourself the question: does this person need more support from me or more challenge? A lot of times people think the answer is that you're too high on one. And so you have to lower it, right? It's like if you're a dominating leader, oh, I just need to not challenge as much. And I would push back on that and say that's actually not true. You can never go too high on one of these. You just are too low on the other, right? I don't want you to stop challenging your people, and I don't want you to stop supporting your people or do less of those things. So the answer is actually to dial up whichever one's lower, right? You can challenge people as far as you can support them, right? Challenge them, push them, but also give them the things that they need to be successful in that role. That's called liberating. Okay. And so a few things you could do with this: you could invite your team to plot you on here. Or you can think through each of your team members yourself and go, okay, how do I typically lead this person? And what do they need more of from me on this? Do they need more support, more challenge, or both? Okay. And so that's your first one. is the support challenge matrix. The second tool I want to give you guys is called the Sherpa assessment. The Sherpa assessment starts with the idea of a Sherpa. And Sherpa, if you don't know, I wish I had pictures right now. I've got some great pictures I could show you. Um, the Sherpa is actually a people group. They are a people group that's native to the Himalayan mountains. And so the big image that we like to use is Mount Everest, right? If just picture, the tallest mountain you could ever possibly imagine, and that's Mount Everest, right? And Everest is just a really, really crazy and interesting place, right? So if you look, just Google like Everest climbing route. And what you'll see, there'll be a picture that comes up with multiple kind of waypoints along the path up to the summit. And when you climb Everest, it's wild, right? The conditions have to be just right, right? There's only a very small window of time every year that people can climb. Otherwise, the weather's too dangerous. You have to be an incredible climber already, right? People don't start on Everest. You have a lifetime of climbing experience, basically, to work your way up to Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. And those waypoints along the path up are different camps. The very bottom one is called base camp. Base camp is at 17,600 feet, which is taller than any mountain we have in the United States already. 17,600 feet. And I'm sure some of you have been to the mountains. If you don't live in them, you've been there. And you get there and it's hard to breathe, right? Because there's so little oxygen the further up that you go. So just imagine that base camp is already higher than any place in the US. And so you have to be already one of the world's best climbers just to get to base camp, right? Then base camp, you have to, you get there, you hang out for a while, you acclimate. If the weather's all good, if the gear's all good, then you climb through what's called the Kumba Icefall, which is incredibly difficult because the ice shifts all the time. So the path is never the same, right? To get to Camp One, right? Now, Camp One, you're already a lot higher in elevation. And so you're struggling to breathe. Okay. And so you acclimate for a while. And then you actually go back down to base camp to recover. Then, when everything's right, you go back to camp one, camp two, acclimate, camp one, recover, camp two, camp three, acclimate, camp two, recover, camp three, camp four, acclimate, camp three, recover. And then finally, when everything is right and you're still healthy and you've got enough oxygen in the tank, you might finally make the push, camp three, camp four, and then up to the summit. But it's even crazier than that because in between Camp 4 and the summit is an area called the Death Zone. And it sounds like something I'm making up, but I promise it's real. The Death Zone is an area on the mountain that's so dangerous, it's so treacherous, it's so high up in altitude that when people fall down, like pass out, you can't recover the bodies. It's too dangerous. And this is like morbid, but right now, if you went and climbed Everest, you would have to climb over the bodies of climbers who didn't make it just to get to the summit. It's wild. But if you manage to do all that, right, and you make it to the very top, the summit, the peak, you get to take like the most incredible picture in the world that you could ever take. And it's you literally on top of the world. And you see those pictures, you look them up, and you'll see a guy, standing there. He's just conquered this incredible thing. But here's what's important for you and where we get into this tool of the Sherpa assessment is no climber makes it up to the top by themselves, right? Even the world's best climbers have to have a Sherpa to take them up the mountain. The Sherpa are a people group that were born at altitude, and so they're naturally acclimatized to the mountain. And so for every time that a climber goes up, there's a Sherpa going with them, actually going in front of them, laying down the path, laying down the rope, checking the weather conditions, keeping an eye on your oxygen tank, making sure you're not going too fast so you exert yourself or too slow so that you don't have the energy to make it to the next camp, making sure that food is ready and available, that lodging and everything that you need is there. And so when you get to the top, they're the ones who help make it possible. And so the Sherpa become just the best example of leadership that we love to use. Because what's incredible about a Sherpa compared to just a climber, right? If you talk to the best climber in the world and ask them, how many times have you been to the top of Mount Everest? They would know, right? They would been up one time, right? Which already makes them one of the very best in the world. Some of the very, very, very best might have been up a couple of times, right? But if you ask a Sherpa how many times you've been to the top of the Mount Everest, they don't know. The number they track is not how many times they've been to the top, but how many people they've gotten to the top, how many people they have helped reach the summit. And that's the type of leadership that we like to teach, right? That we like to encourage people to be, whether you're, the owner of the company, one of the managers, or a shift lead, whatever it is, to be thinking about the Sherpa, because the Sherpa is really just the ultimate leadership icon, right? Sherpas both climb themselves, but they also help others get to the top. So all that is set up. This is the Sherpa assessment. The Sherpa assessment, just imagine that we have somebody that's on your team, right? That's in a leadership role. We're just going to call him Andrew at the moment. It's for you, Andrew. Uh, and we're going to give Andrew, right? Let's say I'm his supervisor, right? Maybe I'm the owner. Andrew is my general manager, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to score Andrew in two different things. I'm going to score him in his ability to climb the mountain, right? But also his ability to lead other people up the mountain, right? So, in other words, his ability to do his job, right? Whatever his specific roles and tasks and responsibilities are. I'm going to say Andrew is killing it at that. He's going to be a 9 out of 10 on that one, right? But then also his ability to lead other people up the mountain. How good is he at leading people, at communicating to other people, at helping people like get into the industry and actually rise up and become more than just what they were when they got there. And I'm going to say Andrew's actually pretty good at that. We'll put him at a 7, which is great, right? Now, here's the exercise to do with the Sherpa assessment is you do this not just for Andrew, your GM, but you also start doing it for, let's say, let's go with Susan, who's your kitchen manager, right? And you do it with Dan, who is in charge of your bottling, right, and canning line. And you do this with Jake, who is your head brewer, right? So I'm giving Jake his beer is phenomenal. He's a 10 out of 10, right, on that. But Jake's a little prickly, right? We're going to give him a 3 on his leading other people up the mountain, right? Dan, who's our canning guy, he's fine at that. But he's actually really good with people. We're going to give him a 7. Susan, our kitchen manager, she kills it on the food, and people generally like, working for her, but definitely some room to grow there. So you can see I'm doing this assessment of all of my people who are in leadership roles, right? And what we'll do is we're going to average those together. I don't know if I can do that on the fly, but let's just say overall, we come out with an average of, yeah, you can see that. Let's say we come out with an average of 7 and 5. Those numbers do not add up. I'm just giving you an example. But what you have there now is your organization has an overall Sherpa assessment score, 7 and 5. And you use that to go, okay, where do we need to grow? And where do these individuals need to grow? Well, Jake is our head brewer, but he keeps running off other people that we add to the brewing process. So we need to invest in Jake in a leadership capacity, right? To make sure that he can actually lead people well, right? Dan over here, actually not too bad in the people side of things, but in his tasks, maybe we need to get Dan some more technical training so that he can get better at this process, right? And you see how this works. So that's a tool called the Sherpa assessment. Uh, the thing that I would have you guys do with this one is one to complete the Sherpa assessment for every people leader in your brewery. I don't care about their role. I don't care about their title. If it's somebody that has at least one person reporting to them, then you put a circle on the board for them. Okay. So do it for every person in your organization. And then my challenge for you right now is to just pick one leader, right? To have that person in your mind. It could be your head brewer, it could be a shift leader, whoever, right? But to pick one leader, have that person in your mind. And if you have something to take notes on in your phone or in a notebook, I want you to think about how you would score them, right? And then maybe even just brainstorm 3 ways that you could help raise whichever score they need raised. Okay. So that's tool number two. Tool number one was support challenge matrix. Tool number two, the Sherpa assessment. And then tool number three, which is going to tie into these other two, is something called the developing others square. Right. Now, I'm going to move you over here because I've already kind of got it drawn out. The developing others square is an incredible tool whenever you're trying to train someone how to do a certain task or a role. Okay. And you have the square. We start up here at the top left. This phase right here, when someone joins the team, when they're new to it, um, you could call this we'll call it the foundation stage. And in this stage, someone you hire, they're really excited about the job, right? They think they've got it, right? This seems like something I can do. Um, in all honesty, they may not be fully aware of what the role requires. And so over time, they're going to realize more and more of the skill gap that they have, right? We call this unconscious, oh boy, making myself spell, unconscious incompetence, right? Which means they don't know what they don't know. Okay. But over time, they start to realize that. And so then they get into this phase over here, the second one, which we'll call oh boy, conscious. I can't spell this right. Let's see this. Conscious incompetence, right? Now all of a sudden they're aware that, oh man, I thought I knew everything I needed to know for this job, but now I'm not so sure. Can I really do this? Am I going to fit here? Right. And if you've hired people, you've seen them probably go through both of these phases where they come in excited and probably a little overconfident. And then once they get into the busy season or the first just slammed evening on a weekend where they go, oh my gosh, what in the world is going on? Right. And they start to drop the ball on things and they lose that confidence. Right. But it's actually not a bad thing because this phase over here, they can be incredibly teachable, right? Up here, most people aren't really fully listening to you when you're trying to teach them how to do something because I got it. Okay? They think they know what they're doing. But as they reach this stage, right, which might be a couple of days into their working with you, might be a couple of weeks, right? Maybe you hit a big festival and everything's been great until the festival comes around and then things start to fall apart. This is when they start going, hey, I don't know what to do. And I'm fully listening to you whenever you're trying to explain it to me, right? This is an opportunity for you to really pour into people and develop people, right? And if you do that well, you'll move them around the square. If you don't, though, if you don't make time for it, what will happen is they'll fall into this little circle over here that we call the pit of despair, which is kind of a funny name, but it really is. It's like, and you've probably been in jobs in different roles like this before where it happens where there was so much momentum at the beginning, but then things just took a downturn and you never really recovered from it. Right. You're like, man, this place is not as good as I thought. And gosh, that boss is not as good as I thought. And I thought I liked these people, but now I'm not sure if I like these people. Do I really want to work here? Right. And what can happen if you're not careful is someone makes their way around the square, they get stuck in the pit, and then they exit the team, right? If you want to talk about turnover and the things that cause it, this is one of the biggest things is that people don't make it around this corner right here into this third phase that we call conscious competence, right? This is where they go, wait, okay, I think I might be able to do this. I think I might be able to handle this, right? And they're growing in their confidence, right? And so once you get through that phase, you get to this circle here, which we call the green room. I don't know if my name's covering that up. It's called the green room. And the green room, if you've ever been to a conference or somewhere where a band is playing, something like that, there's always a green room, which is where the speaker or the band or whoever goes and hangs out, usually before they go on stage. And the green room's nice. There's a comfy couch, there's snacks, there's drinks, whatever. And it would be a real bummer if you went to a concert and the band just decided, we like the green room. I think we'll just stay here. Right? It's really comfortable in here. The couches are nice. These snacks are killer. That would suck, right? Well, the same thing's true in your development of people on your team. The green room is not where you want them to stay, right? That would defeat the purpose of your leadership development track. You want to move them around the square into this other side, which we go with, you probably figured it out by now, is unconscious. Still can't spell it on the fourth time. Competence, which is where they're getting good at stuff and good enough that they don't even really have to think about it anymore, right? And you have things, you have skills like that that you do without even thinking, just because you've done it so much that now you're kind of unconscious about it. It's just on autopilot, right? If you can get your whole team around this square to unconscious competence, they then start training other people to come around the square. And you create this development machine of a healthy team that knows what they're doing and can lead new team members through it so they don't fall out into the pit, so they don't hang out in the green room longer than they should, right? The green room is where you're giving people chances, right? Opportunities to get out there and to actually, hey, why don't you, help make the schedule this week? Why don't you, help lead this meeting, right? We're going to give you a shift lead. We're going to try this out, right? All those different kinds of things that you might do to help someone kind of take a step out of the green room and into a real leadership role. Okay. So here's where I want you to put this all together. For the leader that you previously thought about on the Sherpa assessment, I want you to now think about some of their areas that they need to develop, right? Maybe you have two or three of those, but pick one of those things and ask yourself, where are they on this square? Are they in the area of unconscious incompetence? They think they're really good at it, but you know that they're actually not and they need to grow a lot. Maybe they have realized that they need to grow. Maybe they're growing in it, right? And maybe they're good enough at it that they can begin to teach others how to do it, right? So whoever that leader is, plot them on this square, okay? And then here's one of the keys to this whole thing is depending on where they're at on the square, you can tell how you need to approach the process of teaching them. So if they are in this top one, this unconscious incompetence, the thing here is I do, you watch, right? So you're trying to teach them how to do something. Don't let them do it, right? Hey, I know you probably got this handled, but I'm going to do it so you can see how I do it. And I want you just to watch, ask questions if you have questions, right? And so they're watching you do the thing. They're watching you add ingredients, or you know, clean dishes, pour drinks, whatever it might be. They're watching you do it, right? Hopefully that phase doesn't last very long because they see you do it and they go, oh, that's not how I would have done that. And they start to realize maybe I'm not quite as aware as I thought I was. You get them around there into conscious incompetence, and then it becomes I do, you help, right? So in that phase, your hands are still on the thing, but you're asking them to help lead you through it. Okay, what should I do next? Okay, yeah. But if they tell you a wrong step, you can go, no, actually, we're going to do this first, right? So it's giving them some ownership of it, but you still have your hands on the thing so that they can't screw something up, right? Then you get them around this corner. Again, you see the pattern at this point. We're going to switch things. It's going to be you do, I help. So now their hands are on the thing, but you're guiding them. You're saying, okay, now do this. Oh, don't do that. Okay, do this thing next, right? But they're the ones who are actually doing it so they can begin to get reps on it. And then finally, around the corner, you do, I watch. right? And so you're empowering them. You're going, hey, this is your thing now. I'll be here if you need something, but you're running this deal, right? And that's how you get someone all the way around the development square, right? How you take somebody from brand new team member, right, to somebody who is able then to teach other brand new team members, right, to develop them. That's someone, when you get them around here, you can start bringing them in on this process even and going, hey, we really need to develop Jake in this area of leadership, right? I'd love for you to help do that. And so you start building a team that can help with development. Okay. I'm just going to check the chat here. Um, and make sure there's no comments. If you have comments or questions, feel free to put those in the chat. Happy to answer those if they come up. But where do we go with all this, right? These three tools, we've done support challenge matrix, we've done the Sherpa assessment over here, and the developing others square. What I would challenge you all to do with this is to make a game plan, okay? To make a game plan for your team, for your organization, to actually apply this. And so I would challenge you to pick a leader, right, that you want to develop, at least one from your team. And maybe just start with one. You can always add more and should add more later. Uh, but to be intentional about this, to pick someone that, okay, I see this person, they're incredible, they're important to my team, but they need to develop, right? So you pick a leader and you pick an area of development, right? You don't want to be broad with it. You want to really categorize things and go, okay, they need help with this skill. They need help with, you know, how they send out emails or how they send out schedules for the team or all the, you know, whatever it might be. Pick certain skills, certain areas of development, right? And then you recognize the current stage they're in, right? You go, okay, here's the skill, here's this area. Which stage are they in? By that, I know what my responsibility needs to be. If they're over here, then I'm going to make sure that, hey, I'm going to do this. I want you to tell me how you would go through it. I'm going to give you my input and do it. Um, so recognize their current development stage, and then ask yourself, do they need more support from me, more challenge, or maybe both, right? Back to the support challenge matrix. You're trying to get into that top right box that's the liberate section, right? Where you can free people up to bring their best work, to do their best each and every day for your team. And so that might mean that you need to support them more. You need to give them more time with you or with their direct supervisor. You need to give them resources. You might need to give them training on things. You might need to send them to the next CBP conference, right? Or invite them to watch this video or another one of the sessions from today. You might need to challenge them more, right? You might need to set some goals. You might need to have a difficult conversation, even. But you might need to cast vision, right? And say, hey, right now, I know like you're still fairly new, you've only been here a few months, but I could really see you being a leader in our organization. And I see some things that we need to work on to get you there, right? And so you're challenging them to step up, to grow into a role. And that's a good thing. Or maybe they need both. They need the challenge and the support for you. And then lastly, the thing that you need to game plan out is when will you do this, right? A lot of times we have great aspirations, great goals, even. But if we don't plan them, if we don't put some accountability in place for ourselves, then those things always just kind of get pushed to the back burner, right? There's always the urgent things whenever you're running a business and managing a team that tend to take center stage. And if you don't have a plan for the other things, they get pushed to the back, right? And my guess is that people development has probably not been the thing at the top of most people's lists, and so it just keeps getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off, right? All the while people problems still keep happening and still keep causing you headaches and frustration and honestly costing you money. And so we need to make a plan for that. We need to tell someone else, either a friend or someone that we are close with, or maybe even if you have a leadership team inside of your brewery or organization, you need to put your heads together on this, put things on the calendar, make checklists, and make sure that you follow up in subsequent meetings about this. Put it on your calendar as a regular conversation to have with and about your team. Okay. So, game plan, pick a leader, pick an area of development, recognize their current development stage, Do they need more support, challenge, or both from you? And when and how will you do this? Okay. That's your game plan. So I'll just say if you need help with a game plan, that is something that we love doing. You can email me directly. It's Ryan at craftleadership.co. We help people with this stuff all the time and are more than happy to jump into a conversation for it. Other than that, I think that will cover it. If there's no questions, I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes here. And if any questions pop up, answer those. But yeah, great to be with you guys today. Hopefully, this is helpful. We use these tools all the time with different breweries and brewery owners all across the states. And so, if you have any questions about those, happy to answer them. And hopefully, they benefit you and your team greatly. Okay.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this session, we'd love to see you in real life. We host in-person workshops across the country for craft beer professionals just like you that are held in some of the most exciting beer destinations around. These immersive events are designed to help you grow and connect with others. You'll meet peers from across the country and leave with actionable strategies for success. Connection has never been more important, and you can learn more at cbpconnects.com. Cheers. See you there.